Hello, my name is Kathy Ayala. I'm in film and culture, and today I'm going to be doing my video essay comparing Get Out, directed by Jordan Peele here in America, and Viridiana, directed by Bunuel. That's a Spanish and Mexican film. Two of the major comedic themes I'm going to be focusing on is racism for Get Out and guilt for Viridiana. The story for Get Out basically consists of a young man named Chris, and he's a young black man that's a photographer, and he's invited to his girlfriend Rose's house. She's white, and when they're heading over there, Rose is driving and they end up getting stopped by the police, and the cop actually asks Chris for his ID but not Rose, and Rose steps up for him. So that's one of the very first scenes we see to foreshadow what's coming ahead. And as the story goes forward, they get to the house and Chris realizes that all of the people working there are also black, and Rose assures him that it's just a coincidence. As the story progresses, things get clear that it's not just a coincidence, and Chris clearly starts becoming nervous by the family's actions because they try to act so casual and normal about everything, but clearly something was up. And Rose's dad is a surgeon and Rose's mom is a psychiatrist, and she does hypnotism sometimes to help people with their depression or with things like smoking or alcoholism. One night when they were there, the first night actually, Chris ends up sneaking out to smoke a cigarette, and Chris's mom finds him and convinces him to sit down and talk to him about his problem with cigarette smoking because she wasn't okay with it. And she ends up convincing him or kind of just ends up hypnotizing him. And little by little, the polite ambiance gives way. Like during the family party that they had a day after that they arrive, that the whole family is welcoming Chris and everyone was really nice. But here's when you see some of the humor where a lot of stereotypes about black people are mentioned by the guest at the party. And like underlying racism is shown, like racial comments were being thrown around at him. What made things worse is that the people who were black in the movie and in the party as well were also acting white, so Chris felt very unsettled by everything. So Chris finally gets answers when he decides to tell Rose that he wants to leave because he's too uncomfortable. But as he's packing up his things, he finds a box of pictures that Rose has. And as he's looking through them, he finds that they're all black men. And he quickly packs his stuff and tries to go out the door, but everyone is stopping him. And then the whole family ends up turning on him, including Rose, and they hypnotize him once more. The mom hypnotizes him, and he ends up tied down to a chair. The family finally explains what they were doing, that they're like transplanting their loved ones' brains into their brains, and they're using their bodies sort of as a vessel, since, like, let's say their grandpa or grandma are too old for their bodies anymore. Towards the end, Chris is actually able to escape, but the whole family ends up dead because of the whole series of events that happened with Chris. He, to defend himself, had to kill them, and that's it. That's for Get Out. That's the gist of it. But for Viridiana, it's a little bit of a different story. Get Out was based around our time, around our generations and everything like that. But Viridiana was based in the 1960s, And Viridiana was about to vow to be a nun and wanted to visit her elder dying uncle before she did. Viridiana shocked her uncle when she got there because Don Jaime was surprised by how similar she looked to his long lost wife that died. So he asked her for one last request before she leaves to try on his wife's wedding dress, and she politely accepts it, just to make him feel better. It's her uncle. And when she gets in the wedding dress, he actually asks for a favor and asks to marry her. And when she says no, and he clearly had the wrong idea and intentions, he ends up drugging her. Don Julian and Ramona, his maid, end up getting Viridiana and putting her on the bed, and nothing ends up happening. But when Viridiana awakes, Don Julian makes her believe that they had sex that night and convinces her to stay because of that reason. And when Viridiana ends up not staying, Don Julian decides that the only way to keep her around is to kill himself. So when he does, Viridiana does end up sticking around. Don Julian gets what he wants, but his son George also ends up showing up. So she ends up moving into the smaller house, but along with herself, she brought 13 other homeless individuals that she picked up off the street. Some of them had leprosy. One of them was blind. Some of them were alcoholics. They had various conditions. And she was just trying to help and sort of prove herself better after all those series of events. At one point, George and Viridiana end up going out to eat to discuss business and leave the 13 individuals there alone. And they end up going into the big house, and it shows them having a big old supper and crashing the house. I'll actually insert a clip right here to show the Last Supper because it is an important scene.
Elena, ¿qué quieres? ¿Sí? Sí. Elena nos va a sacar un retrato a todos como recuerdo.
¿Y con qué máquina?
Con una que me regalaron mis papás. Ponerse a echarlo. ¿Qué es lo que pasa? Yo te empujaron. Si no os estáis quietos, no os retrato. Y cuando yo diga alto, que nadie se mueva. Vamos, a prisa. A prisa. A ver que supiera. Además, yo ese sombrero no plata. Vamos, despierte. Tu refugio, recógete esa greña, mujer, que no se te ve la cara. Adivina, ¿cuál es la de que pone la granja? La gallina. ¡Vamos, estaros quietos! Tú no te muevas.
When George and Viridiana finally get back, they realize what have happened, and Viridiana is devastated that everything she's been working hard for came crashing down. And so she ends up completely giving up that night and getting drunk. And she goes and knocks on George's door and finds Ramona in there because they were supposedly playing cards. And they invite her in to play cards and close the door behind them. So Get Out was supposed to be based here in the United States in 2017, while Viridiana was based around Mexico in the time period of 1960. And for Viridiana, it was a very conservative Catholic time, and Bunuel kind of stepped out of comfort zone of Spain and did something that they weren't very comfortable with, and it actually ended up getting him kicked out of Spain because of this film and his criticism for the Catholic Church. Because in the 1960s it was a very conservative Catholic time, Bunuel had to find ways to express himself and his art in a more tamed way, so he learned to use imagery very well in his films. I will put a clip in right here of the very end of the film where he shows Viridiana walking up to the room to George, even though it's not directly said that anything's gonna happen sexually. It is more than implied.
Viridiana, ¿le ocurre algo? ¿Quería hablarme? ¿En qué puedo servirla? Pase, Viridiana. Confieso que no esperaba su visita. Estábamos jugando a las cartas. No le extrañe que me divierta a mi manera. Las noches aquí son largas y uno las mata como puede. Pero siéntese. No te vayas, Ramona. Ven aquí. La señorita es muy sencilla y no le importa que te quedes. ¿Verdad que no? ¿Sabe usted jugar las cartas, primita? ¿No? Venga, siéntese. Estoy seguro que le va a gustar. Siéntate tú también, mujer. Anda, siéntate. De noche todos los gatos son pardos. ¿Le gusta esta clase de música, Viridiana? Es un disco de moda. ¿Corte usted? Ah, sí. No me lo va a creer, pero la primera vez que la vi me dije, mi prima Viridiana terminará por jugar al tute conmigo.
She loves me. We're gonna shake till after 3. Shake me down, shake. Shake me down, shake. Shake me down, shake.
Get Out was based in 2017 and pretty close to today, and we have a lot more activism right now for like the Black Lives Matter movement to get more equality and freedom that we still don't have for everyone. So Jordan Peele tries to make commentary on it with this movie, you know, especially with the showing of the stereotype and Chris completely being overwhelmed with everyone coming at him with it. Jordan Peele commonly used suspense and tension in his movies to build towards the end, and especially to make the topic of racism a little easier on everyone since it's such a heavy topic. He added some comedy into it to sort of point out the stereotypes and make fun of what a lot of Black people commonly have to deal with out in the world every day. And throughout the film, you could see a lot of satire being used in both Viridiana and Get Out, because they were both dealing with something that's pretty serious, like guilt and racism, but were able to use humor throughout the film to express and deal with their issues, as well as point out some flaws like in the US judicial system, like Jordan Peele did, or like the Catholic Church, just like Bunuel did, without having to say things so directly. I do believe that both directors did a really good job using their comedy to push their message across and show everyone their masterpieces with a little bit of humor in it and a little bit of criticism. And I do believe that they both approach the film similarly because they both use similar techniques like satire, but it was also very different because of the time periods and the type of issues that it's pertaining. But I do believe these movies are message movies. Like Get Out is definitely telling us a message about the American society and the disadvantages that Black people have to deal with every day, while Viridiana is sending message out about the Catholic Church and how it's almost dictating everyone's life in Spain and all that. That's why the Catholic Church was not happy when he came out with it, and he ended up getting kicked out, like I said. Directors focused on important social topics throughout the movie to try to push messages across that are important to them, to try to create social change. Like Jordan Peele, being a Black American, is very passionate about the equality of everyone around, while Luis Bunuel had a lot of issues with Spain before he was even kicked out, that caused him to feel like he should critique the Catholic Church. Thank you for providing us with such amazing films throughout the semester. I hope you stay safe and stay sane. Thank you very much for the opportunity this semester, and